Anybody would like Terry?
Thank you, Mayor. I prepared a little bit for tonight, and it's for the people in the audience, it's for the people on the dais, it's for the people at home. But I'm going to start with stealing some of Jason's presentation, because honestly, when he gets into the budget conversation, it really gets nuanced. It really gets down and dirty, and sometimes it is hard to follow. Not saying anybody can't follow it. I'm just saying that I wanted to sort of make it a little simpler at a different level. So when I get the Johnson County tax bill at my house with my wife, I wish it was lower, just like many people in this room, many people watching us on TV. But I've said it before, and we've heard it from other council people up here. What's super important to the discussion is the tax bill we see that we open, Prairie Village only gets 16% of that number. So again, I'm going to boil it down. So 84% of that number that you see does not come to Prairie Village. So if it's a $5,000 bill, $4,200 gets spent by someone else, some other entity, some other government agency. Prairie Village would get $800 of that. So it is curious to me how much energy is spent on social media, signs, flyers, and anger focused on the 16%. I don't hear a lot of questions about the 84%, but that's fine. I mean, anybody can question what they want. They can ask what they want. They can make a statement what they want. But, 16% gets all the attention. 84% just sort of flows through. So anyway, how does that break down for Prairie Village in 16%? In the budget that Jason's presented multiple times, the median home in Prairie Village is worth $435,000. It's a lot of money. We live in a great city. That's almost $500,000. In short, but it's almost $500,000 median house in this. So half the houses are worth more, half are worth less. But it gives us a baseline we can all talk about. So what does Prairie Village get from that house in the current budget with the mill rate we're setting up right now? Prairie Village will receive $75 a month from that house. A $435,000 house is going to get $75 a month, or $905 a year. For this money, just some of the things we receive are police and 911 dispatch centers, street maintenance, sidewalks, stormwater drainage, disaster response. Think about 2 years ago, the summer storm that knocked trees down throughout the city. Nobody had to call their own tree guy to come out and, clean up your yard. The city came and picked it up on the curb for you. Parks, pools, community events like Village Fest we just had, all of this and more is included in that $75 a month. Now, I know I mentioned it before, but it's worth saying. There is another 84% not represented, but that 84%, nobody on this dais, nobody on this staff has any control over. So when you look at your bill, again, I'm not suggesting that everybody run out and sort of create the issues everywhere, but think about the people here that are in this room tonight don't have any control over 84% of that number that you see. Of note, many of the flyers and signs hitting the city say they're in total support of the Prairie Village Police. That's wonderful. I'm in total support of the Prairie Village Police. I think everybody here probably is, so I don't need to go into it. But if we agree on that, or most of us do, and we're okay with the money spent on the police, so the direct Prairie Village cost, again, in Jason's presentation, it's just, he has to talk about more than this. But the direct cost of your $75, 41% of that goes to the police. Your property tax, 41% goes to the police. So that is $30+ of your 75 goes to the police that everybody seems to love, appreciate, and respect the security that we live under. You don't have to wander far from Prairie Village to end up in places that don't have the security that we do. I get a similar response in discussions from most people about public works. You could spend more on alignments in some cities that border us than you do in taxes here. That's an opinion, not a fact. I don't have anything to back that up, but we have great roads. We have great curbs. We have great sidewalks. So the public works of your $75, 31% goes directly to them, So that's about $23. So what I'm getting at is that 41%, very few people argue about. 31%, maybe a little more than argue about the police, but not a lot. So $53 of your 75 on a median house is already spoken for. $53. So that leaves what I might call $22 of discretionary spend, but it's not discretionary. It takes, whether you run a business, a household or whatever, everything isn't siloed into two categories. We have more here than Public Works and Police. But basically we're talking about $22 a month on a median house. Doesn't feel like that, but that's what we're talking about. So what about the should we vote narrative? It's already been broken down that this is $4 of property tax currently included in the budget. Now, people have spoke tonight, people have spoke from the dais, people have said on social media, they don't agree that it already should be part of the budget. And that's a different discussion. I think that's prudent planning, but someone else might have a different opinion on that, and that's fine. It is part of the budget. So if we're talking about, is this a number worth not continuing to invest in the city so everyone theoretically can get their $4 a month back? I've said it before and I will again. I have heard and I'm hearing from more people as recently as this weekend, happy to continue to invest so the generations coming behind us will still enjoy the best city in the Metroplex. I think I didn't run for this seat to think we were just an okay city. I think it's the best city in the Metroplex. Been here for 35 years, love it. So when I talk to people and get into these numbers, when I talk to them one-on-one, no matter where they began, come around to, okay, I didn't know all that. It makes sense people don't know. It's not easy to put on a flyer or put on a social media headline, but it is all on the Prairie Village website. Someone made that it's not out there, it's not public. It is. It's all on the Prairie Village website. If you want to go look at it, we should be looking at it. We do look at it. Staff, of course, puts it there. They know it's there, but you can learn about it. It's all there. So I also ask, are these numbers 75 or 22 what you think you're talking about when you see the discourse in social media, on the signs, on multiple citywide flyers? And if not, why not? Why are we where we are? So I'm going to switch a little bit to the budget process. I was not on the finance committee that worked on the budget, but I did take advantage of the opportunity to join the multiple final review meetings by department with staff and the committee members who could attend. What I saw was the exact same process I follow in the private sector, and I have followed on other boards. A discussion with staff and a defending of expenses. Questions about expenses from staff, questions about expenses from council members, things removed, things lowered, and a exact same process I have in the private sector. So I don't have a problem with it. So if anyone on the council thinks a different process should be followed, we're free to bring it up. To my knowledge, no one has asked for an alternative process, and this is a pretty cut and dried process, and I think it's healthy, and I think the staff and the 6 council people, I believe it was 6, did an excellent job at it. So the question, besides posts like, and I quote, "It's all political theater," while they continue to overtax you, in similar statements, does anyone on the dais have concrete examples they can point to missed in the budget process? Where are the examples of the overtaxing? I ask because people look to us as a group who should be keeping an eye on the public dollars. That's what we should be doing. If there's egregious spending that needs to be reined in, we should all be wanting to hear about it. We should all say, and someone should speak from this dais on a microphone on the TV and say that's a problem. Twice a month, we have an open microphone to bring up that if we need it. Bring these ideas to the forefront, identify them specifically with dollar amounts and say, this is a waste of taxpayer money. And, sorry for us if we don't deal with it, if we're faced with that. So on the budget review, even if not on finance, again, we were all invited to the meetings. We could sit in on all of them. If I personally, and I'll say it because I got the microphone, I am winding up. If I had one complaint about the process, I'm going to tell you my complaint. I hate we have to listen to it 4 to 6 times from Jason. It makes me bananas. But I've told him that, I've told Wes that, and I understand that it needs to be said because who knows how often someone else listens to it. Maybe someone just listens to it one time and there's a step-by-step process. So I understand it, but you want to know what drives Terry crazy? I hate listening to it over and over again, but that's where we are. So in closing, I think the police and the staff of Prairie Village are the bedrock of the city we enjoy, and it's not happenstance. And for $75 a month on a median house, 53, which goes to police and public works, we do pay our fair share. And I would not trade what we receive for our money for any of the surrounding communities. And I went long, but I had a lot to say, so thank you, Mayor.